You called me a sociopath, now watch the consequences. That is effectively the message Donald Trump is sending to UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and the retaliation is already hitting Britain in ways most people haven't fully grasped. If you're stunned by how fast the so-called special relationship collapsed, stay locked in, because the story turns darker and the economic fallout is heading straight for British households. To understand how it reached this point, look back. For years, Starmer's Labour Party didn't merely oppose Trump, they orchestrated a relentless smear campaign, branding him with extreme labels and portraying him as a danger to global stability. These weren't careless remarks from fringe figures, but deliberate public attacks from senior party leaders, many of whom now hold power. Foreign Secretary David Lammy himself used some of the harshest language. And now those same figures expect full trust and respect as allies. What they failed to understand is simple: Trump does not forget insults, and he has returned with unmatched influence over the world's strongest economy and military. On January 20, 2025, his second inauguration drew leaders from across the globe seeking favor and visibility. Italy's Giorgia Meloni prominently featured, Argentina's Javier Milei granted VIP access, even controversial figures welcomed. Starmer, however, was absent entirely. Britain's Prime Minister, once head of America's closest partner, was shut out. This was no accident but a deliberate, public snub, diplomatic exclusion designed to send a message the world could not miss. The message was unmistakable: Britain no longer matters. Their leader insulted me, so the entire nation is now treated as irrelevant. But the inauguration snub was only the opening move. Trump's real retaliation was about to hit. Starmer's troubles escalated from embarrassing to politically explosive. Labor officials didn't just criticize Trump, they actively intervened in the U.S. election, sending party activists to battleground states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin to campaign door-to-door for Kamala Harris, even recruiting volunteers via LinkedIn and arranging housing for Brits aiming to oppose Trump. Once exposed, Trump's legal team filed formal complaints with the Federal Election Commission, accusing labor of illegal foreign interference and making unlawful contributions through volunteer labor and organization. Whether technically illegal or not, the political fallout was irreversible. Trump now sees labor not as friendly Democrats, but as foreign adversaries who tried to block his presidency, and he's striking back. The real punishment is economic. Trump has signaled plans to impose punishing tariffs on nations that fail to respect America, and Britain tops the list. For ordinary British families, the stakes are immense. The US is the UK's largest trading partner, with over $280 billion in annual trade across luxury cars, aerospace, finance, and pharmaceuticals. If tariffs hit, UK exports could face taxes exceeding 25%, instantly pricing them out of American markets, wiping out manufacturing jobs in the Midlands and North, and sending the pound tumbling, making essentials from fuel to food far costlier for British consumers. And what is Starmer doing as this economic storm approaches? He's scrambling, urgently pushing for phone calls with Trump, sending rushed congratulatory notes through diplomatic back channels, and pressing hard for a face-to-face meeting, but Trump's circle isn't responding at all. UK diplomatic insiders say American officials are openly distant at global events, treating Britain like it no longer exists. In practical terms, the UK has been frozen out by the Trump administration. That tension deepened with the appointment of Peter Mandelson as Britain's ambassador to Washington, a choice that perfectly represents everything Trump's camp rejects about the entrenched global elite. Mandelson is closely associated with the Blair era, deep international integration agendas, and elite power networks, making his nomination feel less like outreach and more like provocation. Reports from Washington indicate the decision is being ridiculed in Republican circles, with some advisors dismissing it outright and suggesting Mandelson may struggle to gain real access to senior U.S. officials. This level of disregard is extraordinary, especially for a role once seen as one of the most powerful diplomatic positions on the planet. And as if trade pressure and diplomatic isolation weren't enough, Elon Musk has launched his own high-profile offensive against Starmer's government. When the world's most influential tech figure turns his focus on you, the impact is massive. Using his global platform with hundreds of millions of users, Musk is relentlessly challenging Starmer's credibility, zeroing in on Labour's most sensitive weaknesses, high-profile institutional failures, speech regulation controversies, and what he frames as heavy-handed governing instincts, setting the stage for an even broader confrontation. He's taking decisive political action. Musk has openly backed Nigel Farage's Reform UK party, using his massive global platform to signal to British voters to challenge their own government. He's even threatening to bankroll Reform UK with huge donations capable of shaking up British politics entirely. Consider the gravity. A foreign billionaire is actively influencing UK politics, and large segments of the public are cheering him on, seeing Musk as defending the values their government has abandoned. The contrast is brutal for Starmer. While Britain's elected Prime Minister was excluded from Trump's inauguration, Nigel Farage, holding no official office, was treated like visiting royalty, given front-row access and public praise. Trump called him spectacular and highly respected, even claiming Farage influenced his own political tactics, sending a crystal-clear message. Trump recognizes Farage as a political force, while Starmer is sidelined. The optics are devastating. Trump prefers Britain's opposition over its sitting Prime Minister, effectively endorsing Farage as the only figure capable of restoring the special relationship. Behind Westminster's closed doors, Labour MPs are reportedly in full panic, with private discussions growing increasingly tense and desperate by the day. Senior Labour figures are quietly grappling with a question that terrifies the party: is keeping Starmer as leader worth jeopardizing Britain's relationship with America for the next 4 years? The reality is stark and worsening daily. Trump has for years to systematically punish Britain, economically, diplomatically, and strategically, excluding the UK from key negotiations while cultivating alternative alliances. Sources indicate potential leadership challenges are under discussion, with names like Wes Streeting and Angela Rayner emerging as possible figures to reset ties with Washington. The reasoning is blunt: Starmer has become personally toxic to Britain's national interests. Yet even a change in leadership may not suffice. Trump holds grudges and remembers every slight, potentially seeing any Labour figure as tainted by association with the party that insulted him and interfered in his election. Starmer's position is further weakened by his government's perceived closeness to China. While Trump is rallying a global coalition to counter Beijing, Starmer's team has maintained unusually friendly relations with China, avoided strong stances on Hong Kong, Taiwan, and human rights, and skipped certain US-led measures against Chinese tech firms, all while sustaining trade links Trump considers strategically risky. To the American administration, this makes Starmer not only irrelevant but potentially a liability, raising serious doubts about sharing sensitive intelligence or military technology. The result is a vicious cycle. The more Trump isolates Britain, the more tempting it becomes for the UK to lean on China as an alternative, deepening the strategic rift, but leaning on China would only deepen Trump's distrust of Britain. Political insiders are now openly entertaining what once seemed impossible: removing Starmer to salvage the nation's international standing. The urgency grows with each passing week. Every day Starmer remains in power, Britain's ties with Trump's America weaken further. Every snub, excluded meeting, and trade threat chips away at Britain's global credibility, and other nations are taking note, adjusting their own strategies accordingly. The economic stakes are enormous. If Trump enforces major trade restrictions, Britain could face a recession far worse than 2008, with manufacturing hubs in the Midlands, aerospace jobs in the Southwest, and financial services in London all at risk of massive layoffs. Some Labour MPs are now confronting a harsh political reality: is protecting one leader worth jeopardizing the livelihoods of millions? What's unfolding isn't merely a personal feud, it's a seismic shift in global power dynamics that could permanently erode Britain's influence. For more than 8 decades, Britain's global relevance has exceeded its economic and military weight, thanks to its special relationship with America, giving prime ministers direct access to U.S. presidents and a seat at major international decisions. If that relationship is irreparably damaged, Britain faces a stark new reality: reduced to just another mid-sized European nation with limited influence and fading international clout. Other countries are already recalibrating. Why invest in Britain if it holds no sway in Washington? Why involve Britain in major global negotiations if the US refuses to respect its leadership? Trump has made his approach clear: cross him, and the consequences are real. Look at NAFTA renegotiations with Canada and Mexico, his demands for higher NATO contributions, or his trade wars with China and others. Britain is next to learn the same lesson. In Trump's world, personal loyalty outweighs historical alliances, and disloyalty carries tangible consequences. The escalation follows a predictable path: first diplomatic isolation, already underway, then economic pressure through tariffs and trade restrictions, finally, active U.S. support for political alternatives within Britain. We're currently between stages 1 and 2. The question isn't if Trump will escalate further, it's how far, and whether Britain can survive politically and economically. Some alliances can be repaired with time and skill, but when you publicly call someone a sociopath, campaign to unseat them, and then expect trust, forgiveness is nearly impossible. Starmer made a colossal political gamble, assuming Trump would never return, and that the White House would remain in friendly hands. He miscalculated spectacularly. Now Britain is paying the price, and it's mounting daily. The special relationship that has defined Anglo-American ties since World War II is unraveling in real time, with most people barely grasping its severity. Ordinary British families face potentially devastating economic fallout, while the political ramifications could reshape the country for generations. Will Labour sacrifice Starmer to preserve Britain's standing with Trump's America, or let national interests suffer for party loyalty? Can the damage be repaired, or is it already too late? This crisis is unfolding rapidly, with fresh diplomatic humiliations and economic threats emerging almost daily. The coming months could determine Britain's global position for decades. Stay tuned to see how this unprecedented showdown develops.